Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar, Games, Gamification and Playful Experiences in Marketing. I'm here to talk to you about the rise of AdverGames, that is, games used as forms of advertising or marketing, but to also talk to you about them as data collection tools and why market researchers should care about this. My name is Betty Adamu and I'm the CEO and founder of Research Through Gaming, where we make games for research for brands. We also do lots of design and consultation work for other market research agencies. And in that time, I've produced a book, Games and Gamification in Market Research, which you can see is available from lots of different outlets. And in writing my book, that's where I learned a huge amount about marketing games and how they cross many borders with the market research industry. And there's a lot we, as the research industry, can learn from marketing games, or as they're known as AdverGames or brand games. And to help us with this, we're going to talk a little bit about Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian West is one of the most recognisable brands on the planet. She's a model, TV star, and social media influencer. She's also been a TV producer, published a book, has her own range of emojis, has recently launched her beauty makeup line, a clothing brand, and she's also one of the world's wealthiest computer game characters. The Kim Kardashian Hollywood app game is Kim's most lucrative product yet, actually more than her books and makeup sales combined. Her role-playing game, in which players are tasked to live her life and go from a Z-list celebrity to an A-list celebrity, made $1.6 million in revenue in the first 5 days of its release. And since those 5 days, thousands of players globally spend money within the game to level up their virtual cars, unlock avatar clothing, and so on. Kim's earnings from the game are so prolific that her tweets about how much money she was cashing in created a media hullabaloo, where she said that she was busy cashing in her $80 million video game check. Now, although the $80 million amount in this tweet is disputed by Forbes, they actually estimate that about half of her $52.5 million earnings in 2016 is said to be from the game. Half. Now that's quite incredible for a woman who has a global presence, a global brand, and many different product lines. So what do we learn from this? Kim's game grows her income. That much is clear. But crucially, it perpetuates her fame. The game is definitely a marketing tool and arguably one of the most lucrative examples of a marketing game in history. It's a case study in the money-making and consumer-pulling power of a well-designed marketing game. But what is a marketing game? Well, as I mentioned earlier, they can also be called AdverGames, as in advertising games, or brand games, and they are realised as fully-fledged games from the outset to promote brands, products, or services. And of course, these days, people can also be brands. And some well-known marketing games include Dumb Ways to Die, which was developed by McCann Australia for Melbourne Metro trains to raise awareness around safety around train lines and actually help to reduce near-miss accidents by 30%. There's also the America's Army game, which is a recruitment tool as much as a marketing game developed by the US military. And there's the Colonel Sanders KFC dating game simulation. And I'd like to thank Dominika Nowolowska, a fellow researcher, for pointing this game out to me. Now, although marketing games aren't new, they're being used more than ever before, and this is due to a few different reasons. There's more availability of game engines now, and game engines are specific software systems that help us create games faster and more easier than before, and it's a bit like how WordPress works for websites. There's of course a widened audience of entertainment games now. Entertainment games are no longer being played by teenage boys. There's a wide audience now. Women are playing too, older people are playing too, and that means that marketing games can therefore be played by a much more varied range of consumers. And of course, there is an insatiable demand from brands to engage users in different ways and collect data, and that places pressure on what marketing can and should do. And this is proven in an article by Gideon Spanier, who's the global head of media at Campaign Magazine and Media Week. And he notes that some of Britain's biggest companies are ripping up their advertising plans and rethinking how they communicate with consumers in a data-driven and digital world, much to the detriment of external agencies. He also finishes the article by saying every brand, old and new, is rethinking its communications and agencies need to move faster to stay relevant. So, what's coming across from this article loud and clear, and indeed in conversations I have with marketing experts, is that engagement and providing experiences is all important to brands. But marketeers do need a way to cut through all the other noise while collecting data. Games can and have offered the answer. Games are the most engaging medium of all time. While this has been shown in countless studies from a scientific and academic perspective, many of which are noted in my book, in 2007 this also came true from a commercial standpoint as well. In 2017, mobile games alone accounted for more revenue than any other form of entertainment, generating over 40 billion US dollars worldwide. And in that same year, people spent more money on all types of games, such as console, PC, and so on, than they did on movies and music combined, at an estimated revenue of 92 billion US dollars. And when we play games, dopamine, which is one of our four happiness chemicals, is released in our brains. And dopamine is proven to increase our focus and attention and memory, as well as other benefits. So if brands want to engage people so we're focused and attentive to their messaging, remember what they say, then using the most engaging medium of all time, repurposed for marketing, is the common sense approach. And because games can be made on almost any medium, such as digital, augmented reality, virtual reality, they could be text adventures, they could be board games, they could be mixed media, that means that they can be made to suit quite literally any budget, making them even more attractive for marketeers to use. As such, marketing games can sit anywhere on the spectrum from more stripped-back gamified marketing campaigns to fully-fledged AdverGames. And to highlight those, here's a couple of examples. So here's a gamified marketing campaign from Marmite in which players were tasked to take a selfie after they've had a little bit of Marmite, and depending on if they've pulled a grimace or a yum smile, they would get a score showing if they were a lover of Marmite or a hater. And then that score was put on a leaderboard. And people could do things like go on the Marmite website, look at the leaderboard. They could, of course, engage with other players, and it became partly a gamified marketing campaign, but also using social media. Now, that's a gamified marketing campaign. Let's look at a fully fledged advert game. This example is called Corbyn Run, and you can see here Jeremy Corbyn, who is the UK Labour Party leader, wearing a brown suit and a red tie. And in this game, you're being engaged and having fun, but you're also learning about Labour Party policies as you are overcoming the opposing party obstacles and doing things like running away from the ghost of Margaret Thatcher. So that's an example of a fully fledged advert game. So while some traditional advertising still has a high return on investment, no other form of advertising provides the kind of experiential immersiveness of games, their engagement or their interactivity. So if we think about it, TV ads, YouTube ads, billboards, posters, these are all one-way messages, and marketing games offer a two-way interaction. Specifically, marketing games offer an 8-in-1 approach. They, of course, engage users, and while people are engaged, the marketing game can promote products, services, or things to them, give information about those products and services. And well-designed marketing games have a way of breeding other content. You only need to do a Google search about the Kim Kardashian game, the KFC dating game, Dumb Ways to Die, the Corbyn Run game to see tons of other content that has been created. And of course, games are in their nature simulations of different experiences. And so for brands looking to provide experiential approaches to marketing, games can be a sound approach. And here's the important bit. Games collect consumer information. Games cannot exist without data, and they are, in essence, data collection tools, and they need to be to provide feedback systems. Players won't know what their points are, or their health, or their where they are on a leaderboard if games didn't collect data from them. And so, because of that, how people play a game in itself is a data generator. And that's something really important because it gives another layer of potential insight when we can see the why behind the what in people's behaviour within a kind of simulated game experience. And of course, because these AdverGames, these marketing games can collect data, that data can then be used to support sales growth for a brand, or it might be donations or awareness, depending on what the commercial aim of the AdverGame is. And that information can be used to grow a brand and support future business decisions as well. But let's look at this 8-in-1 in action. And to do so, I want to look at the covert fashion game as an example. Covert fashion is styled as a fashion game, but is very much a data collection tool. Players dress their avatar in real fashion products. And they have a project brief. For example, dress your avatar for the Oscars, or dress up for date night, or an epic road trip. And players can choose from a range of branded goods and get their look rated by a global community of players. The Covert Fashion game partners with over 150 brands, including Calvin Klein, United Nude, and French Connection. And in 2018, French Connection were quoted on the Covert Fashion website as saying that they've been blown away with the exposure their collections have received, resulting in significant mobile traffic and conversions. And the game is now one of their top sources of all e-commerce sales. And according to the Covert Fashion website, minimum player engagement can be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour daily. That length of engagement is unprecedented compared to many types of traditional advertising. So where will we see AdverGames in the future? Well, as well as AdverGames promoting single brands and seeing that a lot more, we're going to see more games like Covert Fashion in which a single game can act as a data collection tool for multiple brands. We're also going to see AdverGames using more innovative types of technology, for example, virtual reality and augmented reality, and also mixed technologies to provide playful, immersive brand experiences, as well as giving new layers of insight. And that's going to spell a very exciting future for marketing and data and insight. And it's also potentially going to spell a very exciting future for market research if we start utilising similar types of methods. And that's why market researchers should care, because of course AdverGames are combining marketing with innovative technologies and engaging forms of research using game-based techniques. And on the other hand, researchers, we have an engagement gap, and that threatens traditional market research agencies. We're not using game-based capabilities enough to offer that kind of engagement that AdverGames are seeing. And of course, as well as many other negative outcomes that can also spell financial disaster for traditional market research. And particularly with the rise of social media-based polls, surveys and quizzes, that means that there's another layer of threat to market researchers. Social media is seeing so many different kinds of fun, interactive, intuitive quizzes, and these are some screen grabs from Instagram polls that, as you can see, are highly visual. But we're also seeing more branded social media surveys in this kind of style, like the one on the screen. This is a gamified piece of research from an underwear brand called Third Love, where they surveyed how women clasp their bras, from the front or from the back. And you can see that they have gained over 3,000 responses and divided participants into team front and team back. And almost 100% of the time, these visually engaging social media surveys, as well as AdverGames and gamified marketing campaigns, don't give any incentives, and yet they see high response rates and completion rates globally. Players often take on other tasks voluntarily as well. For example, sharing links to the content with a friend, downloading informational PDFs, and so on. So, how do we, the market research industry, compete with the rise of data collecting AdverGames and engaging social media surveys? How do we level up? The answer lies with games. Just as marketing and a host of other industries are utilising game-based methods for increased engagement, we need to do the same. We need to make our surveys more like games to fill that engagement gap. And doing so means, first of all, understanding more about gamification design, working with or learning from serious game and gamification designers, experts, and consultants to elevate our research. But if you can't go the full hog with providing gamified research experiences, at the very least, provide feedback to participants as often as possible. Surveys are typically feedback deserts, with participants not knowing how they've helped or what has happened next. And as Dan Pink notes, feedback is a key motivator. So actually, if we want people doing surveys and doing more of them, then providing feedback is key. And here's a research through gaming example of a feedback-driven survey which we developed for the University of Surrey here in the UK. The study started as a traditional segmentation survey in which the University of Surrey could understand which one of 6 profile types their prospective students could be. The student, however, didn't ever see any of that information. They simply responded to the questions, got an incentive, and that was it. But when the university commissioned research through gaming to help elevate engagement, the first thing we did was actually share with the participant what their profile type was. From there, the survey was restyled with a new purpose: to find out what type of student you are. The survey has been live every day for almost 3 years, and in that time the study has been on the university homepage, so it was one of the things that participants would see when they first visited their website. It was also promoted in newsletters, on their social media feeds, and most recently in the undergraduate pages of their website. On average, the survey has seen a 70+% start rate, and at its peak, the survey gained a 97% completion rate. The unexpected engagement led us to rethink the survey as a lead capture tool in which participants could opt in to receive more information about the university. Since this new design element, we've had about a 12% opt-in rate, which is more than the standard opt-in rates for things like newsletters, for instance. While students take part, they can also do things like book to attend an open day, download a prospectus, check out the university Instagram page, share the survey with a friend, and check out the other student profile types. Now, young people are said to be notoriously hard to reach, and yet this study not only saw high levels of response rates and completion rates, but over 200 pieces of voluntary feedback. Participants said things like it was very interesting, it was fun, it was amazing, being encouraged to do more. And we also had a suggestion to include more questions, which I don't know about you, but that is pretty unheard of. But it's the self-discovery experience of the survey, the feedback about what type of student you are, that is driving this kind of engagement. And feedback is, of course, a core component of games. And I should also note that this study has never been incentivised. Instead, the value has been invested in the experience, of which students, as well as thousands of other participants taking part in our other research games, have thanked us for. So if you're interested in levelling up your research, then Games and Gamification in Market Research is a handy one-stop shop for the science, more case studies, practical design application, ethical guidelines, and much more. So please do take advantage of the special discount code at 20% off the recommended retail price. And if you're interested in how other industries are also utilising games and gamification, then please check out my column, How Games and Data Are Changing the World, with Research World magazine. So thank you very much for your time, and without further ado, I hand back over to Ray for the Q&A.